It's the Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by ANZ Home Loans for financial well-beings.
In our specific marketplace, we have seen huge results for renovated family homes, specifically on large blocks. There's been 2 recent results that have been pretty publicised in our marketplace. That said, for the remainder of the market, I genuinely feel as though there's really only 1 or 2 buyers for each campaign. And from our side as agents, we're also having to work a lot harder to keep them on those properties and to progress them further into purchasing those properties.
And that is Nancy Yang in Melbourne on the Real Estate Breakfast this morning as we continue, to bring you the largest real estate knowledge bank across Australia. We are streaming 7 days a week right now on Spotify and iHeartRadio. And don't forget to tell a friend too who might be into real estate just like you. And if you don't want to miss an episode, press the follow link to stay updated on every morning's talking points about the Aussie property market. Well, it's a Tuesday. Nice to get Monday out of the way, October the 28th. And Australia's housing market, as we know, is heating up again. Some will say it started to turn into fire, recording its strongest growth in 4 years. I mentioned the other day at the weekend that Sydney's median house price has surged to that record 1.75 million. That is jumping 3.4% in just 1 quarter. And for the first time, Brisbane has overtaken Melbourne as the nation's second most expensive city with a 1.1 million median after 11 straight quarters of growth. Meanwhile, we're going to be looking at Melbourne this morning because it's closing in on its 2021 peak, and Perth is just $19,000 shy of cracking the $1 million mark. This all from Domain and proof that Australia's property boom isn't slowing. Well, let's catch up with somebody we haven't spoken to in over 12 months. Her name is Nancy Yang. She is in Port Melbourne. And good morning to you, Nancy. Welcome back to the Real Estate Breakfast. Yes, what a year it has been, for 2025. So how are you faring there in Port Melbourne?
The last 12 months for my career, and I think for the broader Port Melbourne market, has been rather positive. Since we last spoke, there's been a few exciting changes whereby I became a director for Buxton Port Phillip, and I also did my auctioneer course. But also wanted to kind of put out there for, again, any new listeners that are getting into real estate, that there's a lot that can be done with this career. And it's one of the few careers where you can achieve amazing things from any walk of life.
Yeah, okay, so a lot going on. Now, I just mentioned that Melbourne is closing in on this 2021 peak. Sometimes the media can skew the numbers and they can be quite confusing. I'm just wondering what your thoughts are with some of the hype around these numbers.
I think everybody loves success story and everybody loves to read about good news. And there's been a lot of good news out there recently with regards to price growth, specifically obviously now in Melbourne that we are starting to see an uptick. But I think that context is very important as well, in the sense that the average house price in Port Melbourne, for example, my specific marketplace, was sitting at 1.8 million in 2021. It then continued to decline significantly to 1.63 as of September last year, but then with a steady uptick back to 1.68 as of today. So the media is not wrong in the sense that the market is uplifting, but I think the correct terminology would probably be that we're seeing a more stable market and we're seeing stability and we're seeing measured growth.
Well, one of the talking points, and we have been talking about this in Melbourne, is the underquoting that is taking place. What have you been seeing this year with relation to that?
Really good question, and it can be a touchy subject for some. We at Buxton don't practice underquoting. We're very firm on that, but we have witnessed it practiced heavily in our marketplace this spring. Going back to, context in the media about results and about property prices going up, you also have to question, is there a true growth or is it just advertised as such because the properties were underquoted? To give you an idea, there was a property in our marketplace recently that was quoted, I believe, 1.5 to 1.6. And there were 2 or 3 other agents that we knew of that had gone through the property and told those owners that it was worth well within the 2s. And guess what? At auction, it sold for mid-2s. So unfortunately, that's a very common story in our marketplace. It shouldn't be that way. But I do feel as though currently there's the upswing in underquoting again, which is causing these, huge news stories about big results, when really those results were probably always supposed to happen.
Now, talking of properties, the style of properties that are driving the market, what sort of style have we got going on at the moment?
Right now, the general feedback is that people don't want to go through renovations. The main reason is because the cost to do it isn't just on, the supply and the tradesmen. It's also on, do we need to rent something if we are to renovate? How long could it take to renovate? We need to get plans and permits approved. Renovated properties, tastefully done, are the most popular properties in our marketplace right now. People are also looking for the potential to add value down the track in years to come. So if you have a decent sized block of land, that's another property style that is, hotly contested right now. I would say that the current types of property we're seeing online right now, many of them do hit that brief because there's a lot more seller confidence in the market currently. So those that have been sitting on the fence for the last 2, 3, 4, even 5 years on whether or not they should sell have finally decided to put their homes on the market.
We are talking to Nancy Yang. She is in Port Melbourne this morning on our Tuesday. When we come back, we'll continue to talk about the Melbourne property market next.
Unlock the secrets of real estate and stay informed about the latest real estate buzz with hot market trends, emerging suburbs and hidden gems.
Let's catch up with Eliza Owen. So long as things don't come out of the blue and we sort of stay on the current trajectory, it should be another cut before Christmas.
Yeah, so most of the major banks are forecasting that the next rate reduction will be at the November meeting, another 25 basis points. Not only will that provide further support to the purchasing market, but for mortgage holders, it delivers more relief for households as well. And we've seen things like, weaker retail spending and GDP growth, which in themselves are not great, but they do suggest a cooling economy, less inflationary pressure.
Isn't it nice to be talking about borrowing capacity at the other end of the spectrum? For such a long period of time over the last few years, we've been sort of going backwards with how much people can borrow, and it should be even more good news. Well, it's good news now, obviously, because they're talking to their mortgage brokers, very happy that they can borrow more. But come November, what a nice little springboard that is into Christmas with people getting busy to buy properties.
I was going to say early Christmas present, isn't it? Whether you're in the market to buy something or a bit more rate relief coming from the RBA. It's interesting, though, we've still seen households hold up extremely well through interest rate rises from 2022 to peaking in November 2023. Things like reducing savings and putting more money towards mortgage payments, putting a little bit less into offset and redraw and putting more into principal and interest payments, and also the savings buffers that were built up through COVID really saw a lot of financial stability during interest rate rises. Mortgage arrears have remained quite low, and now we're starting to see a bit of an improvement in household conditions as well. That savings rate is moving back up.
It's the Real Estate Podcast.
And right now it is time for another property tip. And recently we were talking to Michael Peed from Hive Property there in Canberra. You might remember that conversation. Michael used to be a professional golfer. He has turned his hand now to real estate and has been doing it successfully for 11 years. And you've got a property tip for us this morning, Michael.
Yeah, so I guess as you're aware, with the 1st of October coming in with the first home buyers incentive, I think it's really important now for those buyers that have been in the market for several months or just got themselves into their market to make sure that they're ready. They've spoken to their finance people, they've got themselves in order where if they do see a property that might tick the boxes for them, that they should be in a position to really progress their offers. I think a lot of people and buyers have seen over the course of the year that if you get yourself yourself ready, you put yourself in the best position to secure the property that you're after. And I think given that it's going to become more competitive, I think it's really important to have all your ducks in a row to move on something quickly.
Listen to expert perspectives with exclusive real estate conversations and supercharge your knowledge base with us.
And it is a Real Estate Tuesday, talking about the Melbourne property market and some of the momentum, because Melbourne's property market is back in full swing, hitting its highest level in 3.5 years with that median house price of $1.083 million. The city is now less than $10,000 away from surpassing its October 2021 peak. Boy, there is so much to talk about when it comes to the Melbourne property market. Nancy Yang is with us. And Nancy, I want to talk about the spring market, because it does feel maybe that it has started a little late, particularly for Melbourne.
So yeah, I definitely feel the spring market has started a little slow, and that's because a lot of homeowners were looking at what the RBA would decide with interest rates, plus what the government would decide with regards to further first home buyer incentives and support. And what that meant was that in September, we had a low stock supply for spring, but with high buyer demand. And that did cut the days on market down drastically for homes on the market for sale. Going into October, we've certainly seen an uplift in stock levels, but perhaps not quite the amount yet to reach buyer demand.
So what is driving the growth? You know, a lot of people will be asking that question. Well, 3 RBA rate cuts this year. You've got the rise of consumer confidence and low property listings. I mean, that is all fueling Australia's property boom. Then you've got buyers are moving faster than sellers. Now, that might be a moot point, which is creating fierce competition and driving up prices. Is that the case where you are, Nancy, in terms of buyers are moving faster than sellers?
I think it really depends on what part of the marketplace you're in. So that's certainly true for homes in desirable school pockets, or with recent renovations done in the last 5 years, or with large land components. So in our specific marketplace, we have seen huge results for renovated family homes, specifically on large blocks. There's been 2 recent results that have been pretty publicised in our marketplace. That said, for the remainder of the market, I genuinely feel as though there's really only 1 or 2 buyers for each campaign. And from our side as agents, we're also having to work a lot harder to keep them on those properties and to progress them further into purchasing those properties. That's what I'm seeing on the ground currently.
Nancy Yang, thank you for all of that on our Tuesday morning. You are there in Port Melbourne. Thanks for coming on to the Real Estate Breakfast, and enjoy your Tuesday.
Have a great day.
We are more than just a real estate podcast. We cover a multitude of subjects, including property data, current buyer-seller sentiment, and the mood of the market. Follow each week all of the main talking points and know your property.
So it's an account in which you will have your transactions going through, your savings sitting there, and basically on a daily basis, the lender will do a snapshot, and it's like a set of scales. If your mortgage is sitting at $500, and if you've got $20,000 collectively in your bank accounts that are linked as an offset, you will only pay interest on the difference.
Now, there's a mortgage expert who has shared a shocking story of a homeowner depositing $340,000 into their offset account. The problem was, a year later, they discovered the account wasn't linked to their variable home loan, meaning no interest savings at all.
It's basically, unfortunately, admin errors and 9 times out of 10, human error, where someone has not linked the offset account to the home loan in the background. Now, this is generally done from the banking position as soon as settlement is completed.
We connect you to the best real estate information across Australia. The Real Estate Podcast.